What's up, YouTube? We're here with a new video series that I have decided to start to cover some of the class changes that have been made to Turtle WoW. To kick the series off, I couldn't think of a better way than a simple and quick but effective guide to being a protection paladin, one of my favorite specs and classes in the game. So let's jump into the changes made to paladin tanking so you can be mediocre at the game but still be a great tank. Jumping right into it, let's go over some of the additional spells that we get here on Turtle WoW. Paladins have 3 additional abilities that are baseline for every paladin, which are, if we come in here, we can go to our spell book and let's go down to Retribution. The first one is going to be Crusader Strike. This is a very good ability that we're going to want to be using at least to maintain the buff that it gives us. It's a strike that deals 90% weapon damage plus an additional 161, and it increases your attack speed by 3%, stacks up to 3 times, lasts 30 seconds on a 6-second cooldown. So it's a very good ability, and the reason why we want to keep this up at all times, not just for the increased threat from the attack speed, but from one of our bottom end game talents, Righteous Strikes. Increases the threat generated by your Holy Strike by 30% and its damage by 25. In addition, Zeal increases the amount of damage blocked by 10%. So that is going to be the main reason why we want to keep it up, because it is a survivability cooldown and it will help us tank longer and reduce the strain on our healer, so our healers can do other things like heal the raid or DPS, God forbid. The next thing that we get early on, we're going to go to the Holy Tree. It is Holy Strike. Holy Strike is a ability that hits the target for 366 to 407 holy damage, restoring 90 health and 90 mana to you and 4 allies within 10 yards. The healing effect is reduced by half on yourself. So this is a very good effect if you're tanking and you want to have utility as well, but it's also going to be our bread and butter threat generator. So once we have 3 stacks of Zeal, we're going to be using this ability quite often just to keep our threat. It is going to scale with spell power and do a good amount of damage. The last ability that Paladin gets is Hand of Reckoning, which is I think it's a Wrath of Lich King ability that we're getting now in Turtle WoW. And it's basically a taunt on a button that Paladins were lacking for so long, and it's one of the main reasons why you couldn't tank as a Paladin in Classic. But here we got it, and it makes us probably I would consider Paladin a good 2 tank next behind Druid. So yeah, that's about it for the abilities that we get, but the really exciting stuff comes in our next section here, our talent tree, which we're going to pull up the Turtle WoW page and go over those talents real quick. As I mentioned, the exciting stuff for Paladin comes in the talent trees. The talent trees on Turtle WoW have been completely reworked. They're almost unrecognizable from what they were in Classic, and we get some really cool talents. You have plenty of options for tanking builds, like you can go deeper into Ret, you can go deeper into Holy, you can stop at certain points here, avoid some mitigation spells. But in our case, this is the build I've been using. Para 40, I use for Nax, I tank Guardians, I can tank a lot of bosses, we do a lot of good stuff with this. We have good survivability. It's just been working very well for me, and threat isn't really an issue. So let's break it down. On our first row, we're going to take 5 points into Redoubt, mainly just because I find it better than Devotion Aura. The chance to block and, it's just more survivability. It gets us closer to being our goal of over 100 mitigation on bosses, which is what you want to be as a Paladin. In the next row, we obviously take the 3% hit because it's just very useful. It gets us closer to that threshold of, just never missing on bosses, which you never want to miss as a tank because it just reduces your threat. Now, for the next few points, you can either put 2 points in toughness. I just go all out for full mitigation. I prefer it over Devotion Aura mainly because as a PROT Paladin, I personally wouldn't be using Devotion Aura because I'll explain it a little bit later about the aura that we use, just because there's one that's better for us. In this row, all these talents we're going to take mainly because they're all very good. They provide us very good survivability. They provide us a utility through the Thorns of Blessing of Sanctuary. And we just because of the survivability of this build, and just we're not going to go into the retribution tree. Unfortunately, we cannot get kings because it's been moved over there. So we'll take the improved Righteous Fury because it generates more threat. Obviously, I've explained Blessing of Sanctuary. Shield Specialization. It increases the amount of damage we absorb from blocking. And it also has an 100% chance to restore 2% of the mana when a block occurs, which is great for maintaining our mana, which is a big problem for Protection Paladin as we're going to be using Consecration a lot. And then Anticipation for the 20 defense rating. Good thing. So here is the interesting part. If you are not hit capped, you will 1000% want to take the improved Hand of Reckoning, because the last thing you want to do is miss. So this is one of those talents that if you're lacking in gear, you will want to take. I personally do not take it. I just avoid it because I very rarely does Hand of Reckoning miss for me. And if it does, well then good luck. So the next row, since we're skipping that row, we're going to go into Righteous Defense. Your Righteous Fury active, the damage you take is reduced by 10%. Originally, I did not like this talent because 10% is just not that crazy. Like, 10% of 10k is only 1,000. That's 9,000 damage that you're mitigating, which is still going to kill you. With tier 3, with some pieces of tier 3 and some tier 2.5, I have close to 10k health, so it'll leave me with 800. So that's more, that could save me, who knows, but I still take it anyway, just because it's helpful for other abilities. The next thing we take, obviously, is our most important ability, Holy Shield. This one right here is huge. It has had its charge reduced down to 4, but it's still very good because it gives us a 45% chance to block. And it also, Holy Shield causes 30% additional threat, which helps us a lot when we're blocking. And then next to that, we have Reckoning, which we do take. It gives us a 50% chance after blocking to generate an additional attack. We will take this because we are going to be doing a lot of blocking, which means we're going to be hitting a lot more, which means we can generate more mana, we can use our seals more, and we just generate more threat that way. Righteous Strikes, I already explained to that earlier, so that's obviously, we know we're going to take that for very good reasons. And then Bulwark of the Righteous. This is an ability that is also, it does damage, but also mitigates 30% damage for 12 seconds on a 5-minute cooldown. We want this because it is one of the few survivabilities, unfortunately, one of the few survivability buffs that Paladins get, unfortunately. We don't have many. So we take that. So now you're here. You're left with 13 points. What do? You can either, depending on who you are and how your playstyle is, you can either go back, rework this, or you can go into the ret tree or the holy tree with your 13 points and just go down them. In my case, for my 13, I personally go 5 into Divine Strength for the increased block that we get from that and the DPS. We don't need the Intellect, just because we're going to be generating mana a lot, so we don't need a bigger mana pool. Then I take 5 points into Improved Seal of Righteous, just more damage, more threat, obviously. And then, just so I have an extra cooldown, it brings it down to 40 minutes, but it's still good to have that 30% armor value increase and just the full restore of our health. So that's what we do there. And then with our last point, this is the aura we're going to be using. We're going to be using Sanctity Aura, which increases the holy damage done by party members, which is you. Let's face it, it's you. This is mainly for you. It's very selfish. You take this so you can do more damage and more threat. And there you have it. Here is the build for Protection Paladin that I use. That's been very good for me. It's been helping me tank very well. Obviously, you can play around with this and change it as you feel the need to, but it works very good. And if you need a good starter, here's this. Try this out. Like I said, you might want to go into Improved Hand of Reckoning early on if you really need something and you're struggling with like threat and stuff like that. So you might want to go there. But other than that, this is just something you can work off of and build up as you start playing and you get more familiar with the class and learn it a little bit better. So we're going to move on to stat priorities as a prop paladin here. So going over the stat priority, this will be a quick section. I'm going to just have them on the screen here, the 2 stat priorities that you're going to want to have for threat and mitigation. Again, so our main goal for mitigation is going to be, we want to get as close to or above 100% avoidance with Holy Shield and Redoubt up. With Redoubt, we'll get an additional, I believe it's, yeah, so it's an additional 15%. So that'll put us at like 117, for example, like I am right now, which is well over 100%. So you want to always be at 100%. Obviously, I understand it's not physically possible because Holy Shield has a cooldown and Holy Shield wears off depending how fast you get hit. But you want to, as often as possible, be in that 100% range, which is going to be very doable just with the gearing you can get very early on now, especially with the alternate tier sets and everything like that, which we'll cover in the process that we want to, like, kind of like the gear progression that we're going to go through, which I think we can cover next because it goes very well hand in hand with stat priorities. So let's go into that. Gear progression for a protection paladin is very simple early on when you start raiding. Always want tier pieces. Tier pieces, tier pieces, tier pieces. They're going to be your best friend. So as soon as you get into Molten Core, you know, you're there. You may not be main tank. You may be an ad tank. You're dropping consecrations, everything like that. But you're going to work your way through getting a full set of Lawbringers. And you're going to convert that set of Lawbringers into the tank set, mainly because it's going to help you with threat. It has survivability enough to get you through Blackwing Lair, and you just pop into like the occasional like AQ40. So it gives us, it reduces the cost of our consecration, so we're going to have more sustain on our mana. Increases our chance to block attacks or shield by 2%. So it's going to give us that block value, that block chance to get us our mitigation closer. It's got defense rating, it's got spell power, it's got everything you want except for agility. But who cares? You're new, so you're getting there. This is going to be a good balance between threat and mitigation. It's very balanced. So for those struggling new players. And then we're going to move into Blackwing Lair, and a natural progression of rating. Obviously, like I said, it's very redundant here for paladins. Where my set's at? Collection sets. Here we go. Tier 2. Obviously, and then we move into our green judgment set. Yeah, well, it's actually not green. It's like kind of like a bluish, but whatever. You get the point. So we move into this. This is full mitigation. Very good for just, you're going to have it for a while. You're going to want to save this because you'll be mixing this in with tier 3 pieces and tier 2.5 pieces. So you want to just keep this full set on you at all times. It adds holy damage to your attacks. It gives you 3 holy damage, which, if you didn't know, will proc your Seal of Wisdom, continuing to generate mana, which is good. And you want that. This also increases your spell power by 47, gives you that threat. Whenever you block, you have a 35% chance for your block to increase your blocking by 200. More mitigation. Like I said, this is the deep midi set. All the pieces will have some sort of mitigation on it, like just increased block value. Gonna get you through AQ40. Very, very high survivability. You're gonna keep this for a while. And then when we move to AQ40, things get a little weird. So we will go back to sets and collections here. I don't like this new interface. So we will go back here. We're going to go to Temple of Encourage. 5 pieces. So what do? Obviously, you're going to mix in some tier 2 in here, some off pieces if you really want to. But it's kind of weird because now you're looking at it and you're like, oh, there's a lot of spell power. It's just all spell power and hit chance. Correct. And attack speed. This is going to be our threat set. This set is what we're going to be using if we're struggling with threat, if there's like just a fight that we don't need that mitigation on, that we can just be a pumper tank and assist the DPS with more damage. We're going to be rocking our Avengers set, and we're going to obviously fill in the gaps in survivability with some accessories, you know, the tier 2 pieces, those things. And then finally, we're in Nax. We're doing Nax. We're having a great time. We've been flying through raids. Everybody loves us. We're the rockstar tank. The bear in our raid is just so envious of us because we can AoE tank so much better. And the guild hasn't trusted him yet. So So they're not letting a main tank and showing that he's significantly better than you, but it's okay. Is that we're never going to let that happen because we're going to keep being rock stars. So we're going to start stealing tier 3 pieces. That's our next goal here. Because tier 3 is going to be what we really want. Obviously, as you see, I don't have a full set because I haven't played the game in a while. So we don't talk about that. But we really want this because it is just like tier 1. It is going to be a crazy mix of mitigation and threat. And the reason why it's so good on threat is because it gives us an option for another ability in exorcism. And why is exorcism so good? Because it scales with spell power and it just deals a shit ton of damage to undead and demons, which in case you didn't know, Kara 40, mostly demons and undead, which we want that. So that exorcism is going to generate us more damage, more threat. It's very good. In terms of weapon progression, I have an image here that is kind of going to help us here with our mitigation and our threat weapons. Mostly it's going to be a lot of threat weapons, guys. Let's be honest here, because there's not many mitigation weapons in Classic. But what I will do is I will post that picture right now on the screen so that you have it and you can see what kind of weapons you're looking for, what you're going to be hunting down. In terms of trinkets, though, I personally have been using the same trinkets for a while, and I just have had the best luck with these. For threat, I will be using a Zandalari Hero Charm and a Stylenes just to have that. You can, if you really want to, if you're feeling brave and you want to like get rid of the Stylenes, I like to swap it in for a Dark Moon card of Maelstrom. You can swap it in for something like a Sanctified Orb, which I like because it's another ability, gives us 5% crit. Good little burst there. So I look for threat, look for spell power trinkets. Casters are gonna hate you, but you know, so is life. For mitigation, I also will use an Oni blood trinket. But like I said, your mileage may vary. You can find better items to fill in the off pieces, like your Market Cthuns, your Dignus of the Bronze Dragonfly, your Rathasanarius. If you want to farm that out, that's gonna be your best in slot for threat. Obviously, it's gonna be their best in slot for a lot of specs, but it's very good. And I can post a BIS list here down below. It's from my guild, but I will post it down below here so you have a link so you can actually see that. So let's move on here towards our rotation and our priority abilities so we can kind of wrap this up and bring it on home. So for this next section, we're going to cover the Paladin rotation and opener. So the Paladin rotation is very smooth. It feels kind of good for protection Paladin. It mainly is a priority list that I will put on the screen. I'll also put in the opener that I like to use here, but let me just demonstrate it for you real quick. So basically, as the pull timer is getting closer to pull, I will precast Seal of Righteous. And as I'm nearing the boss, I will pull with Judgment and then go into Holy Strike, drop Consecration, Shield, and then we go into Crusader Strike just to keep Crusader Strike up. As our Judgment comes up, we judge Wisdom, and then we keep Seal of Righteous up. So we just get our 3 stacks of Zeal, keep our Holy Shield up, keep Consecration up. And now that we have all our buffs, we just use Judgment on cooldown and keep our just Holy Strike spam going. And then as needed, we can judge Judgment. And if you feel like you're getting low on mana, you can just switch the Seal of Wisdom once you feel like you have enough threat, and then you just keep generating mana that way. So every time you attack, you generate mana, and then you can just judge Wisdom on cooldown, Righteousness. And then we just keep generating mana and keep our stacks up like that. And then we're blocking. So we're also generating mana because we're blocking. Obviously, I can't demonstrate the blocks here because we are on a target dummy. But as you can see, my mana is regenerating very quickly. And we are just sustaining ourselves. We're almost back to full mana. You see that? So we keep our Zeal up. I let it fall off there for a second, but you don't want to do that during a fight. And that's basically it. The main goal is to keep Zeal up, keep Holy Shield up, keep Consecration up. And that's basically it. If you need burst, you can use a trinket like Zandalari Hero Charm or some consumables. But other than that, your main threat generator, like I said, is Holy Strike. So you will, once you have Zeal up, you will always be using Holy Strike. And if you get low on mana, like I said, switch the Seal of Wisdom to your comfortable level of mana, and then go back into Seal of Righteousness and just using Judgment. Paladin is very good at maintaining itself for a very long time. Your sustain is unmatched by any other caster and any other tank. If played properly, Paladin, I consider them one of the best tanks in the game at the moment. It kind of falls behind very good druids. That's it. And that's basically it for the rotation. I got some closing summary here we can just talk about, and some things, just some quick notes here. All right, so in closing, with some quick notes here, let's go over some of the things that we want to do. One of the things you want to do as a PROT Paladin is get our total boss mitigation to 100%. We want to be gearing somewhere in between the threat and mitigation stat priority, just getting a good balance of that. You know, you want to survive, you want to be able to survive hits, and you want to be able to also generate threats so people aren't ripping it off you. Just playing around with the build a little bit, getting familiar with it, seeing where you can move some points around, and reallocating them as you get better gear. And like I said, this is a by no means end all be all build and should not be taken as law. That's the point of Classic Plus. It's to explore and experiment. So I think you should go out and have fun, play the game, play your class, get familiar, learn with it. Use this guide as a basis to get you going as a PROT Paladin. And like I said, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me in game or on Discord. It's in down below in the wherever it is nowadays on YouTube. I'm always there to offer a helping hand and just maybe even theory craft over some classes. Thank you guys for making it this far into the video. Make sure to stop by Twitch for some of our streams. We will be going back to streaming. The schedule isn't set yet. We just have a lot of life stuff going on right now. And just make sure to subscribe to this video if you want to see more content like this. If you want to see more guides, comment down below what class I should play and just kind of figure out and make a quick guide for next. And until next time, guys, peace out.